Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the next installment in the DIY mini bandsaw build. If you remember from the belt sander build, this is the last little bit of that 3-inch puck that was left. I thought that would be great for me to use as the motor drive wheel for the mini bandsaw. And I know in the last video I said I was going to move on to the framing now, but I thought my bandsaw could benefit from a drive wheel, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this down. I'm not going to show you all the steps because it's, well, if you watch the belt sander build, it's pretty much identical for the roughing out parts. I'm just going to show you the final bits where I actually machine it down into a usable piece for the drive wheel. Now you notice that this puck is really rough, and it's because it's the end cut, right? So I mean, you can see here it was cut off by something, but it was also cut off a very long time ago, and it's been banged around quite a bit. So the first few stages is just to try and get it at least reasonably round and reasonably flat. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use just an extruded piece of aluminum as a parallel to extend it out a bit. It's not really necessary actually, because I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of videos where people go to a great deal of trouble and time consumption trying to get something completely true to well, the axis of the lathe. But in this particular case, it's actually really not necessary. You'll see as we go along here. This is just at this point just trying to set it up so that I can get to the point where when I'm running the lathe, you can see it wobbling a little bit right now. When I run it, it's within reasonable accuracy. And then the final cuts, the one that I'm going to take to shape it all out, I'm going to install the puck once, and then I'm going to make all the cuts without ever taking it out of the jaws. So the axis that I'm going to cut through the center of it for it's going to go on to the motor will be as parallel as my lathe can manage to the actual groove I'm going to cut for the belt. And you'll see as we go along. It's probably the easiest way of being accurate without actually spending any time trying to be accurate. So this is the last, actually no, this is not the last pass. I'm going to flip this one more time, and then I'm going to use the extruded aluminum parallel, and then I'm going to do the cuts. And you'll see as it goes along how it's keeps everything nice and true. Now, since I've started doing this, and I started actually doing starting to make the framing for this, I've decided to try and do a little bit more in the way of accurate machining. So what I've done is I've picked up a couple of my first new tools in forever. This is the last flip here. I picked up a gauge, and I also picked up a new end mill. So what I want to do is I want to start trying to make some actual real parallels and stuff, just to see if I can actually how accurate my machines are, and see if I can actually make accurate tools. Right now I just do this sort of stuff, so we'll see how that goes. I'll post those videos probably as this goes along, because this is going to take obviously quite a while longer before I get to a finished product, and other projects as I go along will sort of creep in every now and then, but I will definitely get this done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this down to size. This is 3 inches, and I want a 3-to-1 ratio. So what I'm going to do is turn this down a little bit so the diameter is accurate, and I get a nice slower feed for the band. So there we go, got it down to size. Now what we're going to do here is, as with the other drive wheel, I am going to gradually cut a V-notch in it. Again, I'm using the high-speed steel bit that I ground on the belt sander. That's the same one that, like I said, I got from my father-in-law from when he was in the armed forces and ran the machine shop and did the courses. So the kind of nice thing about these sorts of things is they last forever, so it's actually really kind of cool. So we're getting down near the end. This is just going to be me putting the last few touches on getting the V exactly where I want it. And as I said before, I think this is way too smooth. I'm going to have to rough it up later on, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. This is just strictly getting things to a point where I can do an assembly and try running stuff and see what it needs to have done to it after the fact. So what I'm going to do now, after I finish this V, is I'm going to test out the slot, make sure it's deep enough and doing what I want it to do. And then, like I said, I have not removed this piece from the lathe since I started turning it. So what's going to happen now is when I go to drill the through hole, it's going to be perfectly parallel, well, as parallel as my lathe can manage, to the sides, and they won't have any wobble at all. Now, in the belt sander build, what I did is I made a very tight friction fit, and if you remember correctly, I had to just hit it with a hammer and to get it to go on. This case, I'm not going to do that. I want this to be removable because I'm not sure exactly what speed I want it to work at. So this is going to be actually just a fairly loose fit, and I am going to have to make a key to fit through here and for it to clamp on to the shaft of the motor. So I'm going to be doing that at some point in time. Right now I'm just going to fit it on here and make sure it works properly. There are the other two wheels, and this half-inch sheet of aluminum that everything's sitting on is going to be the base for the bandsaw. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this style, please like and subscribe, and in the next video I will be getting onto the framing. I promise, and I will see you then. There you go, fits, but yeah, you can see it spins. Ah well, once I put the set screw in, it'll be fine.